most recent accomplishment, we've hit on it already, is the safety trap right here. Hold it
Yes.
up. Yeah, it's nice and in focus. We'll put it up here and over here.
Oh, you got 3
So
cameras going.
yeah, you got, I like it. It's I tell people all the time,
That top quote's really good.
it is a great safety security reference, and it should be right on their shelf next to 100 Deadly Skills. But one of the things I like about what you did is you kind of do this contradictory way of making a point, and I love it. Like, number one, let's
Thank you.
focus on number one, or the first,
Sure.
the big one here. Why is it that sometimes feeling safe is the most dangerous thing we can do?
We are emotional beings.
Mm-hmm.
And so safety is an emotion. Security is a state of being. And in order for both of those things to be, in order for us to be protected, we need to both feel safe, but also be secure. So when we feel safe, our vigilance has a tendency to go down. And when our vigilance goes down, our risk goes up. And when we feel safe, but risk is still in place, we tend to make decisions that are more in line with being a victim than of being a survivor. Because, listen, best way to explain this is if you're holding an umbrella and the umbrella is up and the canopy is that canopy that is keeping the rain from falling down on you is security.
Yeah.
How you feel underneath that umbrella is safety. You feel warm and dry, therefore you feel safe because the security is working as you expected it to.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were then, you felt safe because you knew there was a hurricane, but you're like, no, I feel safe because I've got an umbrella, and you go out onto the street and you expect that umbrella to work in a hurricane as effectively as it did in, that light drizzle, you're going to be wildly,
it's completely different.
Completely different because the expectation wasn't properly framed, and now you don't feel safe, and now you feel anxious, and you're like, well, is everything not safe? And blah 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 blah.
Got it.
Then what happens is that the safety trap is when we feel safe, something bad happens. We're like, oh my God, how did this happen? But then that bad thing goes back to normal, and the cycle repeats itself.
Yeah,
and we see this with like school shootings or what have you. But we see this with people. Like, a buddy of mine has a daughter, and every time she goes out, he's like, stay safe. And she's like, don't worry, I have my mace. But I'm like, that mace is not going to save you.
Right.
Or people are like, oh, I don't have to worry about that. Like, I carry a gun. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
well, are you putting 1,000 rounds down range a month? No.
Yeah.
Then that gun's going to get used against you.
Yeah.
Because, and I've said this before, but it's true. The number one argument against the everyday citizen using a handgun to save themselves in a life or death scenario is to watch that same everyday citizen try to use a cell phone to take a selfie of a celebrity.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I can take my phone and take a picture of my breakfast with like perfect clarity and have it uploaded to the cloud and filter it and post it to Instagram, and it looks beautiful. But if like Taylor Swift walks in the room, it's like, how do I,
yeah.
Now imagine that's a handgun.
Right.
Because people don't realize that when you're on the range and you're under ideal circumstances and the target's down there and they're like, okay, on the count of when the buzzer is, you're going to draw a fire, you're going to fire 2 rounds in 5 seconds, reholster, blah, blah, blah. Like, you're not under duress.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're under duress, your fine motor function goes down, your heart rate accelerates, your vision tightens, it gets blurry, you get tunnel vision, you start sweating, your fine motor function deteriorates. And to think that you are going to perform as well as you think you will in that circumstance is a false expectation. I actually have a whole chapter in the book on the safety trap of expectation.
Yeah, no, those are great, valid points. And like I said, another statement that's kind of contradictory to make a point that I like is, and I'll just roll it into a question, is why can being too polite be dangerous?
Because you're not being disagreeable. One of the biggest, especially with people who are looking to abduct children or who are looking to put women into compromising situations, or who are just, our unwillingness to offend another should never be greater than our willingness to defend ourselves.
Yeah.
I had a friend of mine reach out to me a couple weeks ago and she's a strong professional, educated, successful woman. She has a strong protective posture. She takes good care of herself. She's familiar with weapons. She's security adjacent, so it's not like she doesn't understand like risk or what have you. And she's in New York City, and it's 11 a.m. on a Sunday, and she comes out of her hotel room. She slings her purse across her shoulder. She goes down to the lobby, and she wants to go have a cup of coffee. The lobby restaurant is closed, but they're offering some breakfast out on the patio. So she goes out on the patio, gives herself some self-served coffee, takes a table at the corner, takes her bag off her shoulder, puts her bag on the table, pulls out a cigarette, starts smoking and enjoying her coffee. A couple of minutes later, this guy walks into the room, who she then says is dodgy, and starts like finicking with different things. Maybe he's looking for a phone. Does he have his room key? What have you? But he's like looking around, and he's like, maybe he's waiting for someone. And she's like, there's just something not right about this guy. And she looks around. There's like another table with like two guys on one side. There's another couple here. There's another woman sitting by herself. And then there's her. And she's like, there's just not something right. But then she starts thinking to herself, well, hotel prices have really gone down, and there's a lot of dodgy people here. And, maybe he's just doing this. And so she like takes her eyes off him and looks down and goes back to doing what she was doing. And then next thing she knows, this same guy has his elbow in her chest, is grabbing her purse, and is running out the door. And she's like, well, why did he target me? And basically I said, well, he targeted you because, one, you took your eyes off him. Everyone else was probably looking up or looking at him or looking past him or did something to identify themselves as not, that likelihood of success not being so great. Also, you're in a nice hotel, you're nicely dressed, that's a nice purse, and you're smoking. Smoking equals disposable income equals nicer things. So he can either go after like the poor, he's not going to go after the two guys, he's not going to go after the couple. He was going to probably target one of the two women, and you were offering the higher likelihood of success because, one, you weren't looking at him, two, you were distracted, and three, you probably had things that would be worth him stealing. Now, does that mean that as soon as she saw that guy that she had to get up and leave? No. But did she immediately negotiate against her own survival instincts? Yes, because she chose in that moment to play his defense lawyer rather than the judge of her own situation. So what could she have done? She could have just simply, kept her head up, maybe not looked at him, but looked just past him so that he's still in her periphery, or in her periphery. She could have taken her bag off the table and put it next to her. She could have reslung it around her shoulder. She could have just moved a chair around to the front so that it was another piece of physical, barrier between her and him. She could have pulled out her cell phone and let her know that someone else was coming, which may have helped to thwart his escape. But the fact that she chose to do nothing, that she in no way, shape, or form did anything to participate in her own protection, was a direct reflection of her being too polite. Because she, instead of choosing to participate in her own protection, she weighed that as being less valuable than her unwillingness to be offensive to another.
You're listening to Can You Survive This Podcast? Thanks for tuning in. Please make sure to subscribe, rate, and share on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your favorite shows.